Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are Group 5, Section 3, and we're going to present about international trade. My name is Mohamed.
My name is Afrah.
My name is Tafany Bawazier.
My name is Amirah Farhani.
And we are using the background as the flag of the four countries that have the largest international trade in the world.
And now I will be presenting about the index. International trade. Second one is terms of trade and the gain from trade. The third one is exports, imports, protectionism, and tariff. And the last one will be the multilateral trade agreement. Now I will be explaining about the tariffs, which is mercantilism, absolute advantage, and comparative advantage. Mercantilism is a theory that was prevalent from about 1500 through the early 1800s or so. It's really more of a mindset than a theory of of how mass people bought government leaders and business. People perhaps thought about trade during that time of period. The basic idea of mercantilism starts with the definition of wealth under mercantilism is that a country is as wealthy or that the total wealth of a country is measured in its holdings of gold primarily or certain kinds of treasure. So, a country is only as wealthy as the amount of surplus that is the government has built up. Well, gold is important, or the surplus is important as a basis for national power because it is used to pay for armies and build up institutions. It's a sign of strength for the country. What is the advice of this is a perspective theory. What does it prescribe? Well, it prescribes that terrorists should export more than they import in order to amass this surplus. And we still have this terminology that is in place. This phrase favorable balance of trade is the result of having more export more than imports. Get to that. Remember, this age of 1500 to 1800 is the age of colonialism, and so many of the European countries following this mercantilist plan on established colonies throughout the world, and they use these colonies as source of cheap raw materials. Next is absolute advantage. A country's wealth is based on its available goods and services instead of gold. Wealth is not some surplus holding of the government, but wealth is defined by the total value of goods and services available to the people of a given country. So the availability of goods and services represent the amount of wealth. The real standard of living is determined by people's ability to consume, and of course that ties back to their incomes. Trade should be not be restricted so that every country can specialize in products that benefit it. Trade should be unrestricted. Let's not try to curtail imports and imports and export. Let's encourage trade of all kinds, and the more trade we have, the better off people will be. Agree. Specialization improves efficiency and profits. Specialization in production primarily leads to greater efficiencies and higher productivity. Be unrestricted countries should be specialized as much as possible. This notion of absolute advantage then it's traced to the idea that there are certain kinds of activities that can be performed in certain countries better than they can be in other countries. And the next one is comparative advantage. The benefits of trade occur even if the country does not have an absolute advantage over its trading partner. This is which states gains from the trade will occur even when a country has no absolute advantages with its trading partners. So we could have a country that has all the advantages of another country.
So now I'm going to explain about the terms of trade and the gain from trade. First of all, this is the terms of trade. We assume that there's two countries, which is country A and country B, to make this more simple to explain. So, country A produces 30 pants and 15 shirts, while country B produces 45 pants and 60 shirts. And then we write down the maximum pants and shirts that these two countries can produce here to make it more clear. And then we do the mass calculation. So for 30 pants, country A can produce 15 shirts. So after we do the mass calculation, we get that for every pants, country A actually can produce half of shirt. And the same thing goes with the shirt. So what we can see here is that the energy to create this is one shirt, will be equal to the energy to create two pants. So what we can conclude, two pants. And then we do the same thing for country B. We know that this is the number of the maximum pants and the number of the maximum shirts. We do the math calculation here that for 45 pants we can produce 60 shirts, and then for after we do the math we get that for every pants in country B we can actually produce 4 over 3 shirts, and the same thing here. For every shirt, we can produce 3 over 4 pants. So we write them down here to compare between country A and country B and to compare between the pants and the shirt. We get that from country A, country A will need half the shirts to create one pants. So for country A, pants will need less energy uh, 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 than shirts. So the pants. So it means that pants here is the comparative advantage in country A. What is if we compare to country B? So what is comparative advantage? Comparative advantage is an economist's ability to produce a particular good or service at a lower opportunity cost than its trading partner. So after we see here the comparative advantage, what we can learn is that country A should focus all of its energy in pants because it will need less energy, while country B should focus all of its energy on shirts, so it will need less energy. But it's impossible for a country if they only create pants or they only create shirts, because the citizens will need both pants and shirts. So what should these countries do is that they should trade. So now we explain about the gain from trade. Country A will be willing to sell pants at price higher than half of shirt, while country B will be willing to buy pants at price lower than 4 over 3 shirt. So we should come up with a price in between this. We should come with a price in between these two. So if country A sacrificed 20 of its pants to country B, it will get 20 of shirts from country B, which will bring them to this point. The same thing goes to country B, which will bring them, if country B sacrificed 20 of its shirts, it will get 20 pants from country A, which will bring them to this point. These 2 points, these 2 countries won't be able to get to these 2 points if they did not do the trade before. So after they do the trade, these 2 countries can go beyond their production possibility curves. You see, the production possibility curve was here, and now country A can get here. While country B, it was here, now it can get here, like it's beyond their production possibility curve. So the conclusion is, what is the advantage of the comparative advantage? Why is comparative advantage valuable is that we can calculate the opportunity cost from the comparative advantage and find what is the good price for the countries to trade at. Then the countries who do the trade will then be able to go beyond their PPC. So it will benefit both of the countries. Now we will continue with Mohamed.
Moving on, I'm going to explain about the imports and exports, protectionism, and tariffs. Firstly, imports. Imports are the products and services that a country consumers obtain from the rest of the world, rather than purchasing locally manufactured things. as import sales include transfers to sellers living in another world. Imports lead to an outflow of funds from the country. Second, exports are locally manufactured products and services, but later exported to clients living in other countries. As export sales include selling domestic products and services to international customers, exports lead to an inflow of funds to the seller's country. How important are exports and imports? When a country is importing goods, this represents an outflow of the funds from that country. Local companies are the importers and they make payments overseas entities or the exporters. As high level of imports indicates reports domestic demand and a growing economy. If these imports are mainly productive assets such as machinery and equipment, this is even more favorable for our country since productive assets will improve the economic productivity over the long run. For several years, the United States has maintained a poor trade surplus, importing for more than exports. The US, as of 2019, president worked hard to strengthen the foreign trade situation of the world, primarily by working with other nations to decrease or abolish import barriers that have harmed US businesses' ability to export their goods overseas. Thirdly, protectionism. Protectionism it's possible to define protectionism as an economic policy which aims to protect the local economy from imports from other from other countries. This can come in form of tariffs such as high import taxes, so that purchasing goods from abroad would become less desirable. It can also come in the form of quotas, such as the government restricts the amount of products can be imported. A number of different countries have practiced protectionism over the years. Even if it has some benefits, there are still many significant problems with protectionism. Disadvantage and advantage of protectionism. There are many advantages of protectionism. One, protectionism of local firms from foreign competitors. Two, especially beneficial for the development of new products. Development of local competitive advantages. Local job creation. Trade defects may decrease. Additional tax revenue from import tariffs. Higher profits for local companies. Gap between the poor and the rich may close. Protectionism prevents unfair competitive advantages. Sense of patriotism, less unlawful activities. Disadvantages of protectionism are global warfare laws, only temporary solution for problems, less pressure for innovations, less price pressure, higher product prices, products may decline in quality, problems for industries when protectionism is abundant, countries may lose connection to to latest technology progress, limited choices of products, knowledge cannot spread across borders, global technology progress may be slowed down, labor shortage in certain industries, freedom is important and should not be limited, people may matter to countries with free trade, international investors may refrain from investing in in these countries, and lastly, market forces cannot work properly. As we have seen, there are plenty of pros and cons of protectionism. History has shown, however, that countries that allow trade in the long run will be more effective. Therefore, in order to increase and maintain high level of welfare in a global scale, governments around the world should refrain from protectionism and allow free trade. And lastly, I'm going to present about tariffs. First, how tariffs works. By raising the price of goods and services imported from another country, tariffs are used to limit imports, allowing them less attractive to domestic consumers. There are two types of tariffs. First one is a particular tariff, such as $1,000 tariffs on a vehicle, is imposed as a fixed fee depending on the type of commodity. The other one is an ad valorem tariff, such as 10% of the value of the vehicle is imposed based on the value of the object. Governments can impose tariffs to raise revenue or to protect foreign competition from domestic industries, especially nonsense ones. Tariffs can make domestically manufactured alternatives seem more acceptable by making foreign produced products more costly. Governments that use tariffs to benefit particular industry often do so to protect companies and jobs. Tariffs can also be used as an extension for foreign policy. Imposing tariffs on a trading partner's main export is a way to exert economic leverage. However, tariffs may have unintended side effects. By cutting competitions, they will make domestic industries less competitive and creative. Since a lack of competition tends to drive up prices, they may harm domestic consumers. By preferring some sectors or geographic areas over others, they may create tensions. Tariffs designed to help Tariffs designed to help manufacturers in cities may hurt consumers in rural areas who do not benefit from the policy and are likely to pay more for manufactured goods. Finally, an attempt to pressure a rival country by using tariffs can develop into an unprotected cycle of retaliation, commonly known as a trade war. Moving on, Amirah is going to present about the last part of this presentation.
Okay, next I would like to talk about multilateral trade agreement. Multilateral trade agreement we have four, which is GATT, WTO, European Union, and also NAFTA. First of all, I would like to talk about General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, which is GATT. It is exists from 1947 to 1995. It is also an agreement to regulate trade among more than 120 countries. The purpose of this GATT is to substantial reduction of tariff and other trade barriers and the elimination of preference. GATT had been replaced by World Trade Organization, which is WTO, in 1995, where it made the change to encourage international trade. The major countries of the world set up the GATT in reaction to wave of protectionism that crippled world trade during the Great Depression of the 1930s. In successive negotiating rounds, the GATT substantially reduced the tariff barriers on manufactured goods in the industrial countries. Since the GATT began in 1947, average tariffs set by industrial countries have fallen from about 40% to about 5% now. So, second, we have World Trade Organization, which is WTO. The members of WTO are negotiating what's known as the Doha Round. Doha Round is seek to advance trade opportunities for developing countries in areas ranging from agriculture to service to property rights. In 1995, the GATT became the World Trade Organization, which now has more than 140 member countries. The WTO oversees four international trade agreements, which is the GATT, the General Agreement on Trade in Services, GATS, and agreements on trade-related intellectual property rights and trade-related investment, TRIPS and TRIMS. The WTO is now the forum for members to negotiate reduction in trade barriers. The most recent forum is the Doha Development Round launched in 2001. And third, we have European Union. It is a political and economic union of 27 member states that are located primarily in Europe. The EU has developed an internal single market through a standardized system of laws that apply in all member states in those matters, and only those matters where members have agreed to act as one. EU policies aim to ensure the free movement of people, goods, services, and capital within the internal market, which is the free trade zone. It has moved toward even greater economic integration by becoming a common market which is an arrangement that eliminates impediments to the mobility of factors of production such as capital and labor between participating countries. As a common market, the EU coordinates and harmonizes each country's tax, industrial, and agricultural policies. So lastly, we have North American Free Trade Agreement, which is NAFTA. Okay. Many countries have turned away from the multilateral process towards bilateral or regional trade agreements. This NAFTA have formed in January 1994. Under the terms of NAFTA, the United States, Canada, and Mexico agreed to phase out all tariff on merchandise trade and to reduce restriction on trade in service and foreign investment over a decade. So what is the advantage of the NAFTA? First, we have the advantage of the NAFTA is they promote greater trade among the parties to the agreement. Tafany, can you go to the next slide? Okay, thank you. So this is the advantage of the NAFTA. First, we have they promote greater trade among the parties to the agreement. That may also hasten global trade liberalization of multilateral negotiation runs into difficulty. And lastly, the advantage is recalcitrant countries that exclude from bilateral agreements and hence not sharing in the increased trade. This bring induce to join and reduce their own barriers to trade. So all of this is the trade agreements. So that's all.
That's all from our Group 5, Section 3. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.